ragazzi, come state? Welcome back to our channel with me Nindi and
Luca.
So today we are at the hometown of Luca. We
Yep.
are in
Mantova.
and Mantova was a medieval city, right?
Yeah, back in the past.
It's a part of the history, yeah. Pretty historical, I mean.
Yeah, it was so famous in the past, like a capital of this area.
Okay, and this area was like the belonging of Gonzaga family,
Yeah, Gonzaga was the main
nobles,
family.
yeah, nobles family here. So how is Mantova like, and what we can find here? Don't forget to watch this video till the end.
Yep.
Okay, let's explore.
Let's go.